Let's talk about your platform integration with Alaris Pro.
Yeah, so I love Tony. He used to be known as Pooch in the day.
Yep.
And he's an innovator, he's a doer. And what we've been working on together is not only integrating our data into his services, but we've worked together on what that should look like for his clients. Because, again, weather data is not all what it seems. And, you have TAFs, you have terminal air zone forecasts, you have METARs, you have air mets, and then you've got private sector data like mission cast and other things. What does it mean to the end user? And we worked very closely with him and Don to figure out what would be the experience he wants to give to his customers that really get the full value of what we're doing, right? It's not a matter of just punching in a data set, because it could be effective or it may not be. The key is how does it help the workflow of the end user? And that's what we worked on. So I really value that partnership with them. We learned a lot working with them. We're working with others. I can't really, I don't want to advertise because I don't know how people feel. But the bottom line is we're doing that with others also. And I want to go back to Dallas. I feel very fortunate that I made the decision 3 years ago to take the test bed we did in Hampton and bring it into Fort Worth. It was a bet, right? And I made a bet that those folks in Dallas and Ernest and the folks at the Mike Sanders and all the folks down at the test center, I made a bet that they were going to be a leader and that we wanted to get that best weather data in the spot that was really going to highlight the value, because they were leaning in heavy. And, I think it's paid off, and it's paying off because we have this DOT SMART grant, which is really looking at, this is bigger than TruWeather. I want you to know, like, we bring a lot of partners into this stuff. We probably have 5-6 weather companies that we're working with to fill this Uber integration approach, because we're not trying to say we're the expert.
Because I was at the Air Force, so the AFA Airspace Cyber Conference. There was this big weather company there. And I went up to them because anytime I see weather, I have to ask, do you know Don? Are you working with Don? And they're like, absolutely, we're working with Don. I took a picture with them. I sent it to you. I know you recall. But no, I mean, it's so cool the way you're working across many different aisles and to make this all happen. And so I want to, Don, our time is flying. I want to make sure we get in like everything you want to cover today. And I want to talk, just kind of, I want to talk about 2026, right? So look, tons of validation for you in 2025. These 10 dots on the map. Let's throw that up again, because I think it's worth looking at one last time if that's possible. There we go. So here we've got, all of these test beds, we're this WISE network.
So let me just say, I got my friends up in Grand Sky, and that help support that Meteor drone that we got up there.
Yep.
We've got our friends in Bedrock in Detroit. We have Washington Warren Airport and X-Elevate in North Carolina. We've got our Texas friends. We're going to have our Hollister friends, the DART folks, the Monterey Bay folks, Skyway. Skyway is helping us tremendously. I want to give Skyway a shout out. You don't do this by yourself, right? And so I wanted to make that clear, and that's where we're going in 2026, right? Now, how do we start to really commercialize this, and how do we build these out most cost effectively?
Well, and that's a great segue, Don, to talk to you about, what is your focus for 2026 as you look ahead to the new year?
So my focus is really working in Texas. There's the FAA Center for Advanced Aviation Technologies. We know there's a priority by the FAA on urban weather. Thank you, FAA, because we are ready to demonstrate, and there's a lot to do there. We got to figure out not only how the standard is and this idea of using third-party weather and how trusted it could be, and we got the NTAP for that. But we also want to see, how do we get this very complex data into our systems, our user systems, in ways that they can get the full value of it. Weather data is huge. Most people don't understand. They go, oh, just give me all the grids and I'll take care of it. Well, no, because you can't afford to download all my grids, and you have to store all this, right? So I'm hoping in Texas this year, we figure some of that out. How do we make this usable data, that data you saw around those winds, how do we make that into usable information? That's number one. That's
Yep.
priority one. Priority two is the standards themselves. And we're working on a means of compliance. Now we're going to upgrade the ASTM weather standard this year. And we're going to tie that back to 146. And we're going to be working with the FAA to figure out what does an SPSO or an advisory circular look like in the future, so that third-party weather providers can join and know that they could be trusted and certified. That's another priority. The other one is we're working on a weather data marketplace. We have a data lake that we've built, and we want to start looking at how we can get the sensor data out to people if they want to purchase it, even if they don't want to buy all our TruWeather services. They just want to get the wind profile for research, or maybe they want to use it for other purposes, like, hey, I have a pollution downrange, and I want to know what the winds are doing, so to know which way it's blowing that day, so that we can get advisories out.